Hello, students, and how is everyone today? As I record this, it's pretty rainy and windy outside, so I hope you're nice and warm. And I hope that you are relaxed and calm and centered and focused for our final review of mixed fraction operations. So we're going to mix it up today, some adding, some subtracting, some multiplying, and some dividing. So for group one, if it's Wednesday, October 27th, we'll be doing this lesson, which is in Schoology, and group two will be doing iReady. So if you're in group two and it's Wednesday, you need to get yourself on iReady. If today is Thursday, then group two, this is your lesson, and group one, you should be on iReady. Remember, 60 minutes of iReady gets you all that full credit and gets you an A+ grade in Power School every week. So remember, if you are in group one, make sure you've completed your lesson and put your paper in your binder behind all of the other papers. That way they are in date order. If you are in group two, try to complete at least 35 minutes. More is better, and that will get you really strong in math. So make sure you are doing exactly what you need to be doing according to what group you are in. So as always, we start by reminding you that you are worthy, that you are capable, and that you are smart, and you absolutely can do this. So maybe I'll put a little spider in the web today because Halloween is coming. So we're going to start with, looks like our first problem is addition, and it says 5/8 plus 2 1/8. So we need to take that 2 1/8 and we need to convert it to an improper fraction. So we will look at the 8 and the 2 and we will multiply them together. 8 times 2 is 16, and we will add the numerator to get 17. So we have our 5/8 plus 17/8, and with addition and subtraction, we will keep the same denominator and we will simply add the numerators. So 17 plus 5 equals 22. So we have an answer of 22/8, but we can convert that back to a mixed number by dividing 22 by 8. And we know that 8 times 2 is 16. That might work. 8 times 3 is 24, and that's too big. So 8 times 2 is 16. And when we subtract 16 from 22, we get 6/8. So 2 6/8, but we're still going to have a little bit more work to do. So let's just write this down first, 2 6/8. So with our 2 6/8, we look at that 6/8, and we know that both of those can be divided by 2. So 6 divided by 2 equals 3, and 8 divided by 2 equals 4. So we can rewrite this fraction as 2 3/4. Now, that is our final answer. In our next problem, we have 1 5/12, and from that we will subtract 7/12. We need to rewrite that 1 5/12 as a improper fraction, so we will multiply 12 times 1 is 12, plus 5 is 17/12, from which we will subtract 7/12. And when we subtract, we keep our denominator and we subtract the numerators. 17 minus 7 is 10. And if we look at this 10 over 12, we have a common factor of 2. So that means we can divide 10 by 2 and divide 12 by 2 and rewrite this in its simplest form as 10 divided by 2 is 5, 12 divided by 2 is 6. So our final answer will be 5/6. So number 3, let's always check our operation. So for number 3, we will be adding, and we need to have a common denominator. So we need to find the LCM, least common multiple, of 6 and 3. So let's take this larger number and let's look at the multiples of 6, which are 6, 12. Now wait a minute. If we stop and look at this carefully, we see we don't really need to go that far because 3 is a multiple of 6. So I can go ahead and keep the first fraction because the denominator of 6 will work for me. But we have to convert the 2/3 to a denominator of 6, which we can easily do. So if we multiply 3 times 2, that would get us to 6. So that means we also multiply the numerator by 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. So when we rewrite this problem so that we have common denominators, we rewrite it as 5 over 6 plus 4 over 6. And when we add, we simply keep the denominator of 6. We add the numerators. 5 plus 4 is 9. And now we can convert that to a mixed number, and we're going to be doing some simplifying as well. So 9, 6 means that we have one group of 6 with 3 6 left over. But we can divide the 3 and the 6 by 3. They're both divisible by 3, which would give us 1 and 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So that would give us 1 and 1/2 as our final answer. So now on to number 4. Let's first check what operation we're doing. We're subtracting. We have 7/9 minus 2 and 1/6. So we have to convert 2 and 1/6 to an improper fraction. So we'll start with 7/9 minus 6 times 2 is 18, plus the numerator, one more, is 19 over 6. We also have to find a least common multiple of 6 and 9. So if we look at the multiples of 9, I have 9, 18, 27. So which is the least one that is also divisible by 6? Well, I have this 18. 18 is divisible by 6, and 9 is divisible by 6. So I will convert these fractions and rewrite them so that they have a denominator of 18. So 7 over 9 and 19 over 6. So we want a denominator of 18. So 9 times 2 is 18. 7 times 2 is 14. Whatever we multiply the denominator by, we also multiply the numerator by. If I look at the 6 and the 18, I know that 6 times 3 equals 18. So I will multiply 19 times 3. Oh, I think I just made a mistake. Okay, now let's look at number 4. So we have 7/9 minus 2 and 1/6. So the first thing we'll do is we will convert 2 and 1/6 to a improper fraction. So that would be 7/9 minus 6 times 2 is 12, plus one more is 13. So minus 13 over 6. So now I need a least common multiple of 6 and 9 so that I can rewrite these fractions with a common denominator. So if I look at the multiples of 9, I have 9, 18, 27, and I stop and I look at that. And when I do that, what I see is that I have this 18, which is both a multiple of 9 and a multiple of 6. So it's divisible by 6 and 9. So let's go with that for our new denominator. So first I will convert 7/9, and then I will rewrite 13 over 6. So if I want a denominator of 18, what am I going to do to 9? I'm going to multiply it by 2, which means I will also multiply the numerator by 2. And 7 times 2 is 14, so that would be 14/18. And in terms of 13 over 6, I will multiply 6 times 3. I know that gives me 18. So 13 times 3 will be 39. Now I can go ahead and rewrite this problem as 14 over 18 minus 39 over 18. And I can go ahead and subtract. So the first thing I do is I have that common denominator. When we subtract, we keep the denominators. Now, I notice that I'm going to take 39 from 14, which means when I do positive 14 minus 39, I know that my answer will be negative. So I ignore the signs, I subtract, I give the answer the sign of the larger absolute value, which is 39. So my answer will be 39 minus 14 is 25, but that will be negative. So then my numerator is negative 25 over 18. The next thing I want to do is I want to look and see if I can convert that to a mixed number, since the numerator is larger than the denominator. So if I take 25 and I divide it by 18, I will go in there one time. 25 minus 18 is 7. So that means that my final answer can be written as negative. Remember, this is a negative answer, 1 7/18. All right, let's move on to the next set, the next group of 4. We have in number 5, we are subtracting a negative, okay? This is what we call the not. I cannot not do something. That means I must do it. So the first thing I want to do with this one is I'm going to rewrite this as addition. The next thing I need to do is convert these two fractions. They are improper fractions, and I need to convert them. They are mixed numbers, and I need to convert them to improper fractions. So I will multiply 6 times 2, which gives me 12, and I will add the numerator of 5. 12 and 5 makes 17. So the first fraction can be rewritten as 17 over 6. And remember, we're adding because we had subtracting a negative is the same as adding. And we'll multiply 10 times 2 is 20, plus the numerator is 21. So 17 over 6 plus 21 over 10. Now I need an LCM, a least common multiple, of 6 and 10. So if I look at the multiples of 10, I have 10, 20, 30. And when I get to 30, I see that 30 is also a multiple of 6. So the least common multiple of 6 and 10, the smallest number that both 6 and 10 is a factor of, is 30. So my new denominators will be 30. So I'm going to rewrite 17 over 6 with a denominator of 30. And I'm going to write 21 over 10 with a denominator of 30. So 6 times 5 equals 30. 17 times 5 equals 85. You might need a calculator to do that. I know that 10 times 3 is 30, and 21 times 3 is 63. So I can rewrite this problem as 85 over 30 plus 63 over 30. And then I have my numerator already of 30. I simply need to add I have my denominator. I simply need to add the numerators. And 85 and 63 equal 148. So now I want to take that 148 and I want to divide it by 30. And I know that 30 times 4 is 120. 30 times 5 is 150. That's too much. So I will have 28 over 30 left over. I also know that I can simplify. So far I'm at 4 and 28 over 30. I can divide both of those numbers, the 28 and the 30, by 2 and simplify even further. So I have my 4. 28 divided by 2 is 14. 30 divided by 2 is 15. And that, students, is finally our final answer. So how did you do with that? So I'm hoping that if you're working on your computers and that you will pause and try number 6 on your own. You should be trying these on your own and then check your work with me to see how you've done. So number 6, we are adding a negative. Adding a negative is simply subtracting. And the first thing we need to do with number 6 is convert these mixed numbers to improper fractions. So 8 times 1 is 8, plus 7 more equals 15. So the first fraction can be rewritten as 15 over 8. And we said adding a negative is the same as subtracting. And we'll convert 2 and 7/12 to an improper fraction. 12 times 2 is 24. Plus 7 is 31. So that would be 31 over 12. And now we need a least common multiple of 8 and 12 so that we can have common denominators. So if I look at multiples of 12, I have 12, 24, 36. And when I look at the 24, I know that's also a multiple of 8. So I'm going to convert these fractions to I'm going to rewrite them to have a denominator of 24. So 15 over 8 and 31 over 12. So I know that 8 times 3 is 24, so I'll also multiply the numerator by 3, which would give me 45 over 24. And in the case of the 12, I know that 12 times 2 is 24, so I will multiply the 31 times 2, which gives me 62. So now I'm ready to subtract. I will rewrite these. 45 over 24 minus 62 over 24. And I have my numerator of 24, and 45 minus 62 is, remember, it's a positive 45 minus 62, which means we ignore the signs, subtract 45 from 62, and give the answer, the negative sign from the 62, which would be 17. So that would be a negative 17 over 24. And we cannot simplify that any further, so that will be our final answer. So moving on to number 7, we see that this is a multiplication problem. And we're multiplying a negative times a negative, and a negative times a negative will produce a positive result. So our answer will be positive. The first thing we do is we look to see if we can cross simplify, more like cross division. Is there anything in common with the 10 and the 4 that we can divide by to get these numbers smaller, because smaller numbers are much easier to work with? And I know that I can divide by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And then let's look at the 3 and the 9. And 3 is a multiple of 3, is a factor, of 3 and 9. So I can divide 3 by 3 for 1 and divide 9 by 3, which is 3. Now I can rewrite this problem as 1/5 times, and I like to use the dot for times, 2/3. And these are both negative, but I will have a positive answer. So 1 times 2 is 2, 5 times 3 is 15, and I cannot simplify that answer any further. So that is our final answer. So let's look at number 8. I'm multiplying. Always check your operation first, and this is a positive times a negative, so I will have a negative answer. Let's convert 2 2/3 to an improper fraction. 3 times 2 is 6, plus the numerator of 2, that's 8/3, times negative 1/4. And when I look for opportunities to simplify, I see that 4 is a factor of 4 and a factor of 8. So if I divide 4 by 4, I get 1. If I divide 8 by 4, I get 2. So now I can rewrite this problem as 2/3 times negative 1/4. And when I multiply 2 times that negative 1, I have negative 2. 3 times 4 is 12. Now I'm not finished yet because I see that I can simplify my answer even further. Oh, you know what? I made a mistake. Let's fix that. Okay, now we're on number 8. So first thing I notice is that I am multiplying, and the next thing I notice is that I'm multiplying a positive number times a negative number, which means that my answer will be negative. So first thing I need to do is convert this mixed number, 2 2/3, to an improper fraction. So I will multiply 3 times 2 to get 6, and I will add the numerator of 2. 6 plus 2 is 8. So I can rewrite this as 8/3 times, and I like to use the dot for times, negative 1/4. The next thing I want to do is I want to look and I want to see if I can simplify this at all. I have a 3 and a 1 on the one diagonal, but then I have a 4 and an 8. So both of those are divisible by 4. So 4, and I will do that. Remember, smaller numbers are better numbers. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So now I can rewrite this problem as 2/3. Look how much easier it's getting, times negative 1/1. And when I multiply 2 times negative 1, I have negative 2. When I multiply 3 times 1, I have 3. And that's the final answer. We cannot simplify that any further. So by taking this step here, we've made our work much easier. So let's go on to number 9 and 10, 11 and 12. So number 9 is multiplication. I see that, and I also see that I'm multiplying a negative number times a positive number, which means that my answer will be negative. So first I convert the 4 1/2 to an improper fraction. 4 times 2 is 8, plus the numerator of 1 is 9. So I have 9 over 2, and that's negative, times 11 over 12. Now I have that 2 and 11, and there's no opportunity there to simplify that. There are no common factors. But the 9 and the 12 are both multiples of 3. So I can divide those by 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So I can rewrite these as negative 3 over 2 for the first fraction and 11 over 4 for the second fraction. And now I multiply straight across, multiply the numerators and then the denominators. Negative 3 times 11 is negative 33. Now remember, you can't multiply the negative with both the numerator and the denominator. It's one or the other. And 2 times 4 is 8. And now I have an improper fraction. So I'm going to go ahead and take the 8 and divide it into 33. Now I know that 8 times 4 is 32, which leaves me with 1/8 left over. This is a negative number, so that's negative 4 and 1/8, and that is our final answer. Good job. Next, we have division. Okay, so with division, we keep our first fraction, we change the division to multiplication, and we invert the second fraction. And then we can look for opportunities to simplify. So first, we will rewrite this as 10 over 27 multiplied by 6 over 5. Now, I do have plenty of opportunities to simplify this before I go on, which makes my work easier at the end. I have this 10 and 5 are both divisible by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2. I also have an opportunity to simplify with the 27 and the 6, which are both divisible by 3. So 27 divided by 3 is 9, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So now I can rewrite this whole problem as 2 over 9 times 2 over 1. And I just multiply straight across. 2 times 2 is 4, and 9 times 1 is 9, and that is a final simplified answer. So let's move on. We have 2 more before we get to our applications. We have number 11, negative 1 and 5/8. So we have a negative being divided by a positive 1 and 1/2. So our answer here will be negative. So first we need to convert this negative 1 and 5/8 to an improper fraction. So we have 8 times 1 is 8, plus 5 more equals negative 13 over 8. And then we're dividing by 2 times 1 is 2, plus the numerator of 1 is 3 over 2. Now we will rewrite this as multiplication, and then we will invert the second fraction. So negative 13 over 8 times 2 over 3. Now we do have an opportunity to simplify here. The 13 and the 3, 13 is a prime number, so there's no factors of that, but except for 1. But the 8 and the 2 are both divisible by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. So that helps our work get a little bit easier. Now we'll multiply straight across. Negative 13 times 1 is negative 13, and 4 times 3 is 12. And we know that this is an improper fraction. 13 divided by 12 is 1 with 1/12 left over. And that's negative 1 and 1/12, and that is our final answer. And then number 12, we have negative 5 and 5/9 divided by a negative 10 over 21. So a negative divided by a negative means our answer will be positive. So let's get our improper fraction for the first fraction first, converted to or mixed number converted to an improper fraction. So 9 times 5 is 45, plus the 5 in the numerator is 50 over 9. So that's a negative 50 with a denominator of 9. And then we will change the division to multiplication, and we will invert the second fraction as 21 over 10. Now there's a lot we can do here to simplify this. We see that 9 and 21 are both divisible by 3. So 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 21 divided by 3 is 7. We also see that 50 and 10 are divisible by 10. So 10 divided by 10 is 1, and 50 divided by 10 is 5. So we will rewrite this as negative 5 over 3 times 7 over 1. And when we multiply the numerator and denominator, we have, remember, a negative times a positive is negative. 5 times 7, 35. 3 times 1 is 3. And when we divide 35 by 3, we have 11 with 2/3 left over. So our final answer is a negative. Oh, we had a negative divided by a negative. Sorry, that's a positive answer. I forgot my negative there. This is a positive answer. Forgot my negative sign. So a negative divided by a negative, it will be positive. And that will be a positive 11 and 2/3. Okay, now we're ready to do number 12. We are dividing a negative by a negative. So our answer will be positive. First, we have to rewrite these mixed numbers as improper fractions. 9 times 5 is 45, plus the 5 in the numerator makes 50 over 9, and that's a negative number. And we're going to change the division to multiplication, and we're multiplying by negative, keep the negative, and we invert that fraction to 21 over 10. So we've got plenty of ways to simplify this. I noticed that 10 and 50 are both divisible by 10, so I will simplify that. 10 divided by 10 is 1. 50 divided by 10 is 5. I also noticed that 21 and 9 are both divisible by 3. So 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 21 divided by 3 is 7. Now I can rewrite these fractions as negative 5 over 3 times negative 7 over 1. And when I multiply negative 5 times negative 7, I have a positive 35, and 3 times 1 is 3. When I divide 35 by 3 so that I can go back to a mixed number, 3 divided by 3 is 1, and then 5 divided by 3 is 1, but 1 times 3 is 3, which gives me 2/3 left over. So that would be a positive 11 and 2/3 as our final answer. So let's move on to some of these applications. So first we've got race car driving, and it looks like mountain climbing. So let's start with the race car driving. 1 lap around a racetrack is 2½ miles. On their first lap, 2 race cars collided 3/4 of the way. Find the distance the cars traveled before colliding. So we have a racetrack. I guess that's the middle of the track. And we have 2 cars going around the track. There's 1 car. Here's another car going around the track. And when they get 3/4 of the way around the track, they collide. Not a good thing. I hope nobody got hurt. So the question is, find the distance the cars travel before colliding. So we're talking about miles. Let's be mindful of that. So what we're going to do is multiply 2½ times 3/4, because that's how far they went. The whole track is 2½ miles. They went 3/4 of the way around. So the first thing we want to do is convert this 2½ to an improper fraction. 2 times 2 is 4, plus the numerator make 5. So that would be 5/2 times 3/4. And there's no opportunity here for simplifying yet by cross dividing. So we'll just multiply. 5 times 3 is 15. 2 times 4 is 8. And then we'll divide 15 by 8 so that we can get back to a mixed number. And we know 8 times 2 is 16. That's too big. So 8 times 1 is 8 with 7 left over. So before they crashed, they drove 1 7/8 miles. And let's look at number 14. It took Kyle 4 3/4 hours to climb up a mountain, then 3 3/20 hours to climb down. Find his total climb time. Okay, so 4 3/4 of an hour to go up, 3 3/20 to come down. We want the total up and down, so we will need to add these numbers. So we have 4 3/4 plus 3 3/20. The first thing we want to do is convert these to improper fractions. 4 times 4 is 16, plus 3 is 19, so that's 19/4 plus, that should be a 20 right there, 3/20. So 20 times 3 is 60, plus 3 in the numerator is 63/20. Okay, I look at these denominators, the 4 and the 20, and I know that 4 is a factor of 20. 20 is a multiple of 4. So I want to convert or rewrite this 19/4 to have a denominator of 20. So if I multiply 4 times 5, I get 20. If I multiply 19 times 5, I get 95. So I can rewrite that as 95/20 plus 63/20. And now I'm ready to add. So I have a denominator of 20 and a numerator of 158. So let's divide 158 by 20. And I know that 20 times 8 is 160. That's too big. So 20 times 7 is 140. And I subtract, that gives me 18/20. So far, I'm at 7 18/20. But I can simplify the 18/20 further, because 18 divided by 2 is 9, and 20 divided by 2 is 10. So I will rewrite this again as 7 and 9/10. And that's how long it took. So I should actually write 7 and 9/10 hours. Okay, let's look at the next set. We have something about constructing shelves on a wall and a problem about making flags. So 2 shelves are on a wall with one directly above the other. So we have 2 shelves. Here's the first shelf and the second shelf. One shelf is 4 5/6 feet above the floor. Okay, 4 5/6 feet above the floor. The second shelf, the other shelf, is 5 9/10 feet above the floor. So the second shelf is 5 9/10. And they want us to find the distance, this part here, between the shelves. So this is a subtraction problem. We will start out with the taller shelf, 5 9/10. And from that, we will subtract the shorter shelf, 4 5/6. The first thing we need to do is convert to improper fractions, and then we will find a common denominator. So first, for the improper fractions, 10 times 5 is 60, plus the numerator of 9. That would be 69 over 10, or 59 over 10, excuse me. 10 times 5 is 50, plus the 9, so that's 59 over 10, minus 6 times 4 is 24, plus the numerator of 5 is 29 over 6. Now, what is the least common multiple of 10 and 6? So if we look at the 10 times table, we have 10, that's not divisible by 6. We have 20, which is not divisible by 6. And then we have 30, which is divisible by both 6 and 30. So we will write 59 over 10 with a denominator of 30, and we will rewrite 29 over 6 with a denominator of 30. So I know that 10 times 3 is 30, and 59 times 3 is 177. So that's our first fraction. I know that 6 times 5 is 30, and 29 times 5 is 145. So now I rewrite this problem as 177 over 30 minus 145 over 30. My denominator, my answer will be 30. That's before it's simplified. 177, minus 145 is 32. And I know that 32 is one group of 30 with 2 30ths left over. But I also know that I can simplify the 2 and the 30 by dividing both the numerator and the denominator by 2, and rewrite this as 1. And let me write it below so I have room to put the feet. I can rewrite this as 1, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. 30 divided by 2 is 15, so that is 1 and 1/15. And remember, our unit of measure in this problem is feet. So the distance between the shelves is 1 and 1/15 of a foot. In our next problem, Tricia is making flags with 40 5/16 yards of fabric. If each flag requires 3 1/8 yards, how many flags can she make? So she's got a lot of fabric. She's got 40 5/8 yards of fabric. And she's going to divide this fabric up, cut it apart, and make all these flags. We don't know how many yet, but we know that each flag requires 3 1/8 yards. So this is a division problem. This is 40 and 5/16 divided by 3 and 1/8. And our first step will be to turn those into improper fractions. So it's going to be a big number. You're going to need a calculator here. So let me get my calculator because I can't even do this in my head. So 40 times 16 is 640 plus the numerator of 5 is 645 over 16 divided by 8 times 3 is 24 plus the numerator of 1 is 25 over 8. So let's rewrite this with our strategy of keeping the first fraction, changing the division to multiplication, and then inverting the second fraction. So we have 645 over 16 multiplied by, and then we invert the second fraction, 8 over 25. So we can make this problem a lot simpler. First, let's look at the 8 and the 16. I know that those are multiples of 8. So 8 divided by 8 is 1. 16 divided by 8 is 2. I also see that 645 and 25 are both multiples of 5. So I will divide those both by 5. So 25 divided by 5 is 5. 645 divided by 5 is 129. We're getting those numbers smaller and smaller. So let's rewrite our problem, which is now 129 over 2 times 1 over 5. Now we're ready to multiply. 129 times 1 is 129, and 5 times 2 is 10. So let's make this a mixed number. So we will divide 129 by 10, and 12 divided by 10 is 1, with 2 left over. And then 29 divided by 10 is 2, with 2 times 10 is 20, with 9 left over. So technically our final answer is 12 and 9/10. However, there's something special going on. And if you look at this picture of the flags, that might help you visualize. You cannot make 9/10 of a flag. You can only make a whole flag. So for this type of a problem, and students, I want you to watch out for these kinds of problems. We are only interested in the whole number as the answer. Tricia is not going to make 12 and 9/10 flags. She's going to make 12 flags. And then she will have a little bit of fabric left over. Maybe she can make a mask to wear to school with her leftover fabric. That's probably what I would do right now. So I like to sew. Finally, our last two problems. You've been working so hard. Doug bought 2 2/9 pounds of gummy bears. Yummy. If he gave 3/5 of the bag to his friend, how much of the bag did he have left? So he bought 2 2/9 pounds, and I guess they all came in a bag. So we have a bag of gummy bears that weighs 2 2/9 pounds. He gave 3/5 of the bag to his friend. How much of the bag did he have left? So I know you might be tempted to subtract, but this is actually a multiplication problem. The word of is sometimes a key to us, but we're going to multiply 2 2/9 times 3/5, because the first fraction that we have refers to pounds. The second fraction we have refers to an amount, 3/5 of the bag. It didn't say 3/5 pounds. If it said he gave 3/5 pounds to his friend, that would be a subtraction problem, but this is a multiplication problem. So first we need to convert the 2 and 2/9 to a improper fraction. So 9 times 2 is 18, plus 2 more. That would be 20/9 times 3/5. And look at all the opportunities for simplifying. We have that 3 and the 9. 3 is a factor of 9, so I will divide both the 3 and the 9 by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Then I also have this 5 and this 20, and I will divide those both by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 20 divided by 5 is 4. So my new problem is 4/3 times 1 over 1, which of course equals 4/3. And it looks like I can't simplify. So how much of the bag did he have left? Well, I'm not done yet. This is what Doug ate. I'm sorry, what Doug gave. This is what he gave away. Now I need to find out how much Doug had left. So I need to take the 2 and 2/9 and subtract the 4/3. So I will rewrite the 2 and 2/9 as a mixed number, which I know up here is 20/9. So that would be 20/9 minus 4/3. And I'm going to rewrite the 4/3 with a denominator of 9. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 3 is 12. So that would be 20/9 minus 12/9. And so my answer will be in ninths. 20 minus 12 is 8. So that means that Doug has 8/9 of the bag left. So hopefully that's enough gummy bears for him. So finally, number 18, a fish tank has a small leak. Well, that's not good. If there were 20 and 5/8 gallons in the tank, then 19 and 7/12 gallons 5 hours later, how many gallons is the tank losing per hour? So first we need to find out how much it lost in 5 hours. Okay, so we'll get back to that. But first we need to subtract 19 and 7/12 from 20 and 5/8. We'll make mixed numbers. So 20 times 8 is 160, plus 5 is 165 over 8. And 12 times 19, I need my calculator for that, is 228, plus 7 more is 235 over 8. I'm sorry, over 12. And we need to find a common denominator. So let's look at the factors of 12. 12, 24. 24 is a factor of 8 and 12. So I'm going to convert 165 over 8 to a denominator of 24. So I will multiply 8 times 3 and then 165 times 3, which is 495. So I have 495 over 24 minus, and I'm going to convert the 235 over 12 to 24ths. I multiply 12 times 2. I multiply 235 times 2, and I get 470. And then I simply keep the denominator, subtract the numerators. 495 minus 470 is 25/24. So that's how much he lost. That's how much water he lost. But the question is, how many gallons is the tank losing per hour? So we need to divide this by 5. So 25 over 24, that's why I'm not converting it to a mixed number, divided by 5, which we will rewrite as multiplication. So we can think of the 5 as 5 over 1. When we rewrite this problem as multiplication, it's 25 over 24 times 1 over 5. And I see that I can easily simplify this. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 25 divided by 5 is 5. I just multiply across. And my final answer is that the fish tank is losing 5/24 of a gallon per hour. So that looks like it for today. We do have a little exit ticket. I want you to think about some of the strategies that we've been using, and I want you to answer yes or no. So with fraction addition, must we rewrite mixed numbers as improper fractions? Yes, we must. Let's use a darker number, darker color. Must we rewrite the fractions with a common denominator, at least using a least common multiple? Yes. With fraction subtraction, must we rewrite the mixed numbers as improper fractions? Yes. Must we rewrite the fractions with a least common denominator, that is the least common multiple of the two denominators? Yes. With fraction multiplication, must we rewrite the mixed numbers as improper fractions? We must. But we do not need to rewrite the fractions with a common denominator. We can multiply straight across, the numerator by numerator, not denominator by denominator, but we might want to cross divide and simplify those numbers first. And the same with fraction division. We do need to rewrite them as improper fractions, but we do not need to worry about a common denominator. So check around you before you leave. Make sure everything is packed up. If you're at home, take a deep breath. And either way, congratulate yourself on your hard work. You're doing a great job. Now go forth and have a great day. Good job. If you keep practicing, you'll be great.